We've got a glorious weekend feeling. Welcome back to another edition of What a Shout, filmed every Friday somewhere in the capital at the Racing Post headquarters. This is the flagship feature weekend show with our sponsors Bet365. Welcome back. What a weekend we have in store for you. Myself, Dave Orton, delighted to be back with you. Listen, it's a long week. I've got a couple of bags under the eyes and I've been going to bed at a good time. Unlike the man next to me, I dare say somewhere on the line, Kills, it's been a bit of a socialising as well, has it? Been enjoying it?
I haven't had any beer at all.
I mean, that is a 100 to 1 shot in the net.
I tell you what I've been doing. My sleep patterns get worse and worse and worse. I've been going to bed at 9 o'clock, getting up at 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. and doing my stuff, doing loads of work till about 10.
And how's that worked out for you this week?
I've backed more winners than I've tipped, unfortunately. You know when you toss up between a couple.
Yeah, of course.
Like, I've had a couple of winners.
Is that because the weather's been changing, or?
No, not really. It's just you toss up between 1 and 2, and you know what I mean. If I tipped every horse I fancied, you wouldn't have any room for any writing.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? It's one of those. So I sometimes, when it comes to big meetings, I call it the scattergun comes out. Like, but the wrong ones went in the paper. But it's not been horrific from a tipping front. But I'd like to nail that big one.
Listen, we've got some big races coming, haven't we? So let's go to our sponsor, Pat Cooney. Where are you, Pat? Are you still at home?
Yeah, still at home, and a little bit like Kills, it's tough looking at these races, aren't you? You're looking at a race 3 times, is it one on fast ground, one on good ground, and one on testing ground? So you're doing 3 lots of homework, and you're only going to get 1 result. So it's been a demanding week, but onwards and upwards. A
demanding week indeed for the industry. Now, we're keeping it all in-house for you today. I know a lot of you sometimes, to get the feedback from the show, you're like, where's the race previews? This is going to be all about a tipping assault for you. We've done our homework, don't worry about it. But there does happen to be a couple of big news issues. We've got to look back at some of the racing clues as well. Let's see exactly what's coming up for you then. The hot topic this week, mistaken identity. Oh, didn't think we were going to have this coming up anytime soon. We'll have a little reminder of what happened at Galway earlier in the week. Of course, the racing clues, what has lit up the panel's selections so far, what's impressed them at Goodwood. We'll have a word about ADR. All the big race previews then. You can see the Stewards' Cup is in there, big calls and the weekend winners. Mistaken identity, a case of there was at Galway earlier this week. All right, let's pick the bones out of the hot topic then this week. Now, Galway Maidens, especially on a Tuesday night, first day of, Goodwood done. It's the sort of race you might look for, Kills, isn't it? Because we've seen some stars over the years. Dermot Weld usually runs a good one. Aidan O'Brien usually runs a good one. And, of course, the Jessie Harrington stable likes to target them as well. And Jessie had a good start to the week. She was bidding for her 3rd winner in the 5:10, the Fillies Maiden, over 7 furlongs. Dermot Weld ran the hot pot. Aidan O'Brien had a sister, Anthony Van Dyke in it, called Twinkle. Drawn on the inside, looked like a good bet to me. And then all of a sudden, there was a springer in the paddock. RTV went to Fran Berry and he said, guys, I've got to tell you, there is an absolute standout in the paddock. It was a horse called Alazira in the first. I'm laughing because we all know what's happened now. It was, of course, a filly called Aurora Princess, a dual winner, a 3-year-old filly. I mean, at least Fran called it, I suppose. But they said afterwards, didn't they? Oh, Fran, what a great pick and all this sort of thing. He got loads of victory on Twitter. That was well out of order. But at the same time, I'm sure he said to everyone, thank goodness I noticed it. Turned out, Kills, it was completely the wrong filly. A lengthy stewards. The stewards objected to the identity of the filly. Thank goodness for that. But we couldn't work out what was going on. What do we make of all this?
I mean, I wasn't paying any attention whatsoever. I just heard in the background that suddenly there's an objection to the identity of the winner, and it just makes you hang your head in embarrassment, really, doesn't it? Because, we've had so many different things go wrong. We've had a judge call the wrong result at Sandown, fudge it and call a dead heat instead. We've had a jockey mistake the winning post too soon, and now we've had another case of a wrong horse running to follow on what happened with Aidan O'Brien with Snowfall and Mother Earth last season. And it just seems like racing's going out of its way to look amateurish at times, and it's just embarrassing.
Yeah.
Why can't we get this right? There must be protocols you can put in place to stop this from happening.
There's got to be a way of making it right, guys, isn't there? I mean, a lot of industry heads stuck their head above the parapet after this, and started having a bit of a pop. Seemingly, what happens is, I was talking to a couple of jockeys about this who. Currently riding at the moment. They said when you're coming out the paddock, there's, in Ireland and England, they get scanned. There's a chip. But once the saddle's on, that's pre-saddling. So obviously that's what went wrong in the Fillies Mile with snowfall and and Mother Earth. We should say that happened to Team Ballydoyle because of COVID protocols. They had a completely new and different British team. That's where they think the mix-up was. Jesse Harrington, the trainer, of course, has come out and said this was human error. This should never have happened. We're terribly, terribly sorry. Absolute embarrassment for Jesse, 100%. I mean, awful. Classic winning trainer, held all before over jumps as well. Moscow Flyer, we've had on the show. She's been brilliant. What an awful little cross against her name, I suppose this must be in her eyes. There must be a way, though, Kills, mustn't there, of ensuring that once the saddle's on, we can do it again.
I mean, why don't they just scan them as they're leaving the paddock to go down the post?
Some of the welfare people have come out and said, well, actually, once the saddle's on, they're ready. You've got to get out on the track, so it might cause.
Well, how long does it take to scan a horse? I mean,
I don't really know.
Once the saddle's on, I mean, the jockeys are on. They're still walking around the parade ring with jockeys on for ages, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're not that G'd up. I mean, that's nonsense.
It does seem like it was a complete Horlicks, though, doesn't it, Pat Cooney? Now, let me tell you how I found out about it, Pat. I'm in transit back from the studio, having covered the day of Glorious Goodwood. Now, I didn't have a good day. I happened to back a horse in that race called Twinkle, who finished second. And I'm looking at the websites thinking, why have they not settled this? What's going on? I'm driving, so I'm not really, what I mean? I'm not on RTV, I'm not listening to all the hoo-ha, I'm not on Twitter and all that sort of stuff. And then I get home, and I've been paid out at SP. Unbelievable scenes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I agree. You think, well, why can't they just ID them on entering the parade ring? I mean, you ID them when they arrive at the track. I don't really agree with, he's a hyper horse, he won't like it. Well, that's just part of being a racehorse, isn't it? You've got to go to the start, you've got to get in the stalls, and now hopefully you could be ID'd as you enter the parade ring. I thought it was really, really an embarrassing situation for all concerned. And spare a thought for the poor old bookmakers. We paid double result on that. We laid Twinkle, Aidan O'Brien, a well-backed favourite, and we also paid out on the first past the post as well.
Spare thought for the exchange players who were smashing in at 100 to 1 on.
Well, of course, anyone that bets on exchanges, they have to go by the IHRB rules, don't they?
Exactly,
so that's something they're going to have to look at. There was an issue
get your
there.
money back,
Yeah, who didn't get your money back. But this is one time where the second pass and the first pass to post, you can have some sympathy.
Well, I always have sympathy with bookmakers. I mean, it's a great concession for some of them to offer first pass to post. Not all do.
Yeah, of course.
Now, and some actually have it in their rules that one of the exceptions is if the wrong horse runs. Yet I believe they've still paid out anyway, which is very, very good of them. But
goodwill, okay.
Why should it happen? And of course, anybody at the track, obviously there weren't that many people there at Galway, but they've all lost as well.
Yeah, they have, absolutely. So incredible. Alazira, what a filly she'll be with expectations on her when she comes out. Let's hope she makes it to the track, the right horse. Let's have a look back at some racing clues then. Now, before we get to exactly what has impressed Pat and Keels during the week, big performances, form-wise, eye-catchers. We must have a word on Adayar. Lots has been said about it now, but the dust has settled, and we have seen a few form clues through the week, Kills. Everyone was expecting Love to just turn up and follow up her Prince of Wales' stakes. That has taken a bit of gloss, that form off it now, whether we believe it or not. Is that as good as she is, first and foremost, and how good is Adayar?
It might be. I mean, I wouldn't say everyone was expecting. I thought Love would win just because she was the one proven on fast ground, but it turns out that Adayar, who's got enormous feet and can definitely go through a bit, can handle anything. I think he is what he looks like, and that's a very good Derby winner. If that's as good as Love is, then there's no shame in that. I mean, you've got to remember she's an older horse. She was giving a big horse. I mean, AR is a big horse. Yeah. Quite, he now looks a proper mature horse now, doesn't he? She was giving him weight. So I wouldn't knock her too much. She can win more Group 1s without a shadow of a doubt. But she's very good.
And a word for
he's very good.
He's you don't want to say a benchmark, but he's 2 seconds now on his return to Britain. If anything, I've become more of a fan of Mishriff, a little bit like I was when Broome met his defeats earlier in the year, who also ran in the race and set the pace. It was a messy start, wasn't it? But he's come up against 2 world-class 3-year-olds now, hasn't he? So he massively deserves it. He's proved himself a 1, 2, 3-year-old. I think we could say that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, we have seen that we have this, almost an unusually good set of 3-year-olds at all distances, don't we?
And
what I mean? And that's...
And after the year that we had last year, we were questioning the 2-year-old form coming in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at some of the Derby winners we've had recently. I mean, Serpentine, for instance.
Well, he keeps getting bashed.
He's plodding around getting tailed off in staying races now, isn't he?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? He could have had a stallion career if he went straight to stud.
Where does he go now, Adayar?
Probably pre-Neil and then the Arc.
I could ask you so many questions because
I mean,
we've got Hurricane Lane as well, haven't we?
Well, Hurricane Lane's being pointed towards the ledger by all accounts, so.
Yeah.
So, you know, and he'll obviously be a warm favourite for that.
Yes, okay. It's fascinating, though, isn't it? Because Hurricane Lane's one that's proven he can go over and do it in France, of course. Pat Cooney, from a bookmaking perspective, where are the pieces starting to go?
Well, it was interesting when the race on Saturday, wasn't it? Adea was a really good result for us, and I think people weren't sure to take that Derby form at face value, and Love was a real hot order for the race. And you look at Love, she's rated 122 on each of her last 3 runs, so is she going forward? Probably not, but you know, Adea is. I was at Sandown when we sponsored the Classic Trial. He was second there, I think it was, at the start of the season. Beautiful big horse, and I didn't have him marked down as an Epsom Derby winner or the best 3-year-old in training by any means. So he is making giant strides, and as Kealy said, he can do it on fast ground. He can do it with a bit of cut in the ground as well. If he gets the orthodox French preparation, let's say, you know, go for that the pre-Neil and then onto the Arc, he's going to be a formidable rival, isn't he? But in the background, you got Snowfall, and she looks just as good as well. So I think at the start of the year, we were saying, oh, there's no good 3-year-olds. We don't think. Well, we've got a couple of superstars on our hand now. And I like Keels. I think Hurricane Lane has got more of a St. Ledger ticket than anything. But yeah, they're not afraid of running 2 in the same race, the boys in blue, are they?
No, they are not. I mean, well, look, we're going to have to move on from this. I could keep going and keep going and keep going. Let's stick with the 3-year-olds and let's come back to Goodwood. Let's go to the Wednesday, the Sussex Stakes, dubbed the race of the year last year when Mahatha won. 3-year-olds dominated, but the one 3-year-old that at Royal Ascot put himself to the top. So they're sort of vying, aren't they? It's a little bit like the tennis players or the golfers, you know, in that vintage year. Who's going to be number one? Who's going to be number one? Who's going to be world number one? It was Poetic Flair after Ascot. He couldn't match Alcohol Free, however, in the Sussex.
He couldn't. I mean, the reasons for that are obvious. One is the ground. I mean, you know, no matter how good a horse is, I think most of them have some sort of preference, and we saw how good Poetic Flair looked off a fast gallop on really, really fast ground at Ascot. And the other thing is, he hasn't missed a dance, has he?
No.
Like, you know what I mean? He's been everywhere. Like, you know, and at some point, no matter how tough Jim Bolger says he is, like, you know, at some point he's just gonna drop a level. They do to be running that many times, and you know, he did what he did in defeat in his other defeats, and that's try really, really hard.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? He
got a little bit hampered as well towards the end.
Yeah, he did. He's a really admirable horse.
Let's talk about the form then, Kills, because we think to be at his absolute best, he wants rocking fast ground, so he might have to.
I think so, but he can win Group 1s on soft ground. He'd be a threat.
Could they run him in the Champion Stakes, the Irish Champion Stakes? Do you think is he that? That's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah,
you're looking about where's he going to get the ground now?
You wonder where he's going to get the ground. I mean, you wouldn't mind seeing him get a good month off either, would you?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? That might do.
Mile races on fast ground. It's kind of after the Sussex. It's just heavens.
Well, yeah. I mean, whenever you go to France, it's raining, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
well, exactly.
So you want to go to the Marois will be.
But Palace Pier still to come out. The mile division looks hot. Alcohol free, better than Chief Singer, said Jeff Smith, who was his previous winner 37 years ago.
Chief Singer was brilliant, wasn't it? I don't think that's in any way true, but that's not to knock alcohol free. She's very good.
Form looks good, doesn't it? Because
Yeah.
Snow Lantern, of course, so the 3-year-old's dominated. She, again, when she learns to settle, if she learns to settle, she's a worldie, isn't she?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, Ashley Murphy did really well on it, didn't he? On the outside,
alcohol-free,
really on alcohol free, on underside, getting her to settle because it looked like she might just run a bit wild at one point.
It was a brilliant race, wasn't it? And the Falmouth now looks like an exceedingly hot race. Got Prima Baccio still to come out of that. Mother Earth, of course, who was second in that. Because Lady Bowthorpe, who was eye-popping in that, went to the Nassau Stakes on Thursday.
Yeah, I don't know what I was doing with that Nassau Stakes. I really don't, because I backed Prima Baccio and Lady Bowthorpe in the and I thought Lady Bowthorpe was the one that probably should have won.
Yes, same.
And for some reason I couldn't have her. I thought there won't be much pace on here. She'll be too keen. She won't get home, and you know she proved all that wrong and proved much the best. I thought.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it was wonderful. All she had to do over that trip was settle. And Kieran Schumacher, lots been said about Kieran, obviously. The comeback, if you like, after the troubles that he had. And he got a beautifully settled, but that devastating turn of foot was deployed, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, she won like a short price favourite, didn't she?
Yeah. And Zayada, the variant horse in second, is a horse that he should be excited about for the By later on in races like that, back over a mile 4.
Not 100% sure she'll get a mile 4.
Interesting.
Not anymore. No, not anymore. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. The Derby one was too bad to be true, but you know, I'm not 100% sure she will. But she's, you know, She's a good filly. I don't know whether she's a proper Group 1 filly.
Joan of Arc was in third, the Prix de Diane winner. That was the one they came for, Pat, wasn't it? Joan of Arc. Lady Both thought was a right old price.
Yeah. No, for my sins, I thought Joan of Arc would win that as well. But Aiden's horses, they haven't run that well, really, have they? They've been fair prices, but they haven't really looked like winning or anything. And I thought that was the same with Joan of Arc yesterday. But yeah, hats off to the connections of the winner, Lady Both. It's not often you do your money and you're actually sort of willing the other one on in with 50 yards to go. But I thought what Lady Both, I thought it was a real good story. And, the owner gets a lot of publicity, Emma Banks. She's agent to Kylie Minogue, Katy Perry and so forth. So there was that crossover. She was going to be more in the front half of the newspapers and on the back. So a good story. The Kieran Schumacher is well documented. And William Jarvis as well. I found it a good story. I was cheering Joan of Arc up until the furlong pole, but yeah, I think that just sums up the week really. Lots of happy faces, crowds back, so there's plenty to admire, even if we're not backing a few winners along the way.
Yeah, jockeys have had a big say as well. Holly Doyle got the hat trick on the first day, thanks to
Trushan, yes.
No Strad, so
no, so I don't care about that. I think Trushan would have won anyway. I mean, he had his ground. I don't think any of us buy Stradivarius doesn't act on the ground, but we know Trushan really does, and the way he powered away, I think it would have taken a really good performance to beat him.
it looked like there was a bit of an elephant in the room with the way he goes, the 50-1 second shot. But if you go back to his penultimate run in Maidan, he was 6 lengths off Subjectivist, Gold Cup winner, and they let Subjectivist go that day. So actually, he's not the worst benchmark.
Yeah, no, of course no. He's a good horse, but I mean, you saw the way Trushan went away.
A word for the Johnson stable, actually, Keels, because it looks like Subjectivist. If you're believing what you hear,
Never race again, yeah.
it does look like, unfortunately,
Saron Priestley, same.
Poor old Saron Priestley ran his heart out in third. The same injury, suspensory. Thankfully, he's all right.
Yeah.
Not life-threatening, but it is career-ending. That is a sun blow, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Just shows you how it can go.
Yeah, I mean, so some people, sometimes you just get all the bad luck, and other times things run for you, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, at the moment, they're running for Alan King. I mean, I wonder whether. I mean, we've had some good 2-year-olds, haven't we? We've seen. I wonder whether.
Yes.
It will accelerate his transferable. One day he's going to do a David Ellsworth and just say, right, jumps is enough. I'm now a flat trainer. I don't know whether that will happen, but
his big comment earlier in the year was it's a regret, and that's an interesting word for Alan to use. He's a kingy, he's a schoolmaster, isn't he? He knows absolute pro. We've had him on the show. It's a regret that we didn't concentrate on the flat more. Asymmetric is the horse that you're talking about, of course, in the Richmond Stakes, the 2-year-old.
Yeah, I had a discussion with Tom Siegel about this the other day. He thought that Perfect Power was really unlucky. I thought Asymmetric won easily.
Asymmetric was definitely the right winner. Perfect Power was one of my eye catchers of the week.
Yeah, he was definitely an eye catcher. Definitely better than the result. But I think Asymmetric looks like one of those horses that does just enough.
And he's one of those beautiful horses that you can take your time with.
Yeah.
A little bit like Soul Power, isn't he? You can just wait.
Yeah, and he'll go through a gap.
Yeah.
But he might pull himself up. Because if you see Martin Harley, he actually gave him a slap on the post.
Wasn't it great to see how he celebrated Martin Harley, a big win for him as well?
Yeah, I mean, he was good, but the best 2-year-old we saw was Armour.
Thank you very much. Listen, Kills, you're getting better at this, I tell you. You are what a shout all over you are. You know where we're going with this. The double act is on. Because I was quite excited by the Richmond Stakes. I know they finished in a bit of a heap, but it means that we've got an exciting 2-year-old sprint division. And has the best of them been seen in the Malcolm Armour? I mean, he was sensational, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. I mean, he might be ground dependent. If you read the Richard Hannon quote, he will love the ground, as that's what he said in the Racing Post in the morning. So and being by No Nay Never, who's got a really, really good strike rate with horses on soft ground. He might be ground dependent, but his change of gear when he went away, because I'd had a fair bet on him, and I actually thought furlong and a half out. Hang on a minute, is he going to go through? And then he did.
Yeah.
And he went away and he looked good. He put proper distance between them. The right horses were second and third, I think. Given the conditions, so I think it was, I think he's a pretty decent animal.
Yeah, the die was casting, wasn't it, on the flat season?
Whether he stays at 5 is another matter, though, isn't it?
He looked like he could go 6. Jim Crack, surely for him, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be.
Anyway, so that's what's happened so far at Goodwood. Still plenty more to come your way. As I said, the die has been cast. We were excited about the flat season. We thought it would promise good things. Goodwood has cemented that opinion. 1:55 on Saturday. This is where it starts to get serious for you out there, isn't it? We love these big race handicaps. And it is the Stewards Cup consolation race, Pat Cooney. The first thing to say when that draw, one of the draws of the year, isn't it, on Thursday morning came out, who's going to make the cut, who's going to miss it? Poor old First Folio, anti-post favourite for the race, misses it by 1. He's now top rate in this.
Yeah, and First Folio was probably just about our biggest liability for the outright Stewards Cup. He won 7 weeks ago. You were thinking, oh, he'll be all right, he'll get in. But obviously, you get your money back now. He's been balloted out. He was going to be a single figure price to beat officially higher rated horses in the big one. He's now top weight, giving weight to lesser horses as we speak. So it's only right that he starts off as favourite. But he has got 9 stone 10, and he is in stall 6, which on the face of it, who knows, might be a good draw, might not. It's one of those conundrums, really, but merits his place at the top of the market. There's others in the race very much in form. Power Over Me, he's in 12. He's in form. Popular. Not household names, some of these horses by any means, but they're real tough, good handicappers in form. I thought one that caught my eye was Boundless Power of Michael Appleby, Sylvester de Souza. And this is a horse, I thought he was a bit unlucky last time he ran it. Things didn't quite work out for him, but he's a sprinter in good form coming to that. He's won on testing ground, so you've no worries about the weather. Sylvester aboard. A slight concern, maybe he's not 1 over 6. I think he's 0 from 4. But he was plugging on well enough over the trip last time out, and it is, it's a relatively straightforward distance here. So he was one that caught my eye. But the First Folio backers, if you thought he was going to win a Stewards Cup, I'm pretty sure you're going to think he's going to win the consolation.
Yeah, okay, he's going to be popular, no doubt. Spread across the track then, we've had a little help with the draw, but we haven't explored the far side yet, it's fair to say, isn't it? Which are the low numbers.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, earlier in the week, it has seemed on the sprint course you actually wanted to be fairly near the stands rail, but that's always the case, and then sometimes they go over to the far side. Now, the last time there was soft ground at glorious Goodwood, the entire field for the Stewards Cup went over the far side.
Yes.
And Lancelot du Lac, who won it, it was 2017, finished up under the far rail. Now, we're not going to get soft ground, but we've had soft ground, so it's been raced on that straight, and we got this.
Are we sure we're not getting soft ground? Is that?
I don't think so, because I think they had 4 mil this morning. There's maybe 3 or 4 more, but it's just mostly dry tomorrow. So I'm saying, it'll be just on the easy side and no worse. Okay. I'd still be inclined to back, win these things one either side, because you don't know. There's no hard and fast yet. You have to be drawn one side or the other.
So,
but I'm gonna focus. I mean, First Folio is obviously, it's obviously going to be hard to beat. But
York form elsewhere, isn't it?
It's York form elsewhere. But I mean, York form, obviously Hoofit won that and the what's it so
batted back. So
it's perfectly plausible. Anything is, and he's giving weight to horses that might be well in themselves, you know what I mean, rather than a load of, you get an awful lot of exposed horses in the better races when it comes to sprinters.
Of course.
So he's got Music Society in there. There's actually £8 well in for his second.
Ran a belter, didn't he?
Yeah. And the one I like is Bickerstaff. Now,
on my radar,
I'd like the rain to stay as it is. I think 5 furlongs was an absolute minimum for him. And he won so well last time.
This is in the David Armstrong.
He won so well last time.
So well known for sprinters.
He won so well last time at Ascot on, given easy ground for the first time. And I just remember earlier in the season when he won at Pontefract, trainer said, I nearly pulled him out because it's a bit too fast. And, he's won for the big handicaps. And it wouldn't surprise me, this Carl Boak, wouldn't surprise me if he turned out better than that. And he finally looked like it at Ascot last time. And, I think it's only £1 well in or something under a penalty. But, I think an official mark of 90, he might end up better than that. Yeah,
Bickerstaff's on my radar. Another horse drawn on the stand side, Indian Creek. Tom Marquand takes the ride for Mick Shannon. It's a step up in classes, but watch back his recent run under a penalty. It definitely came a bit too soon. I think we could say that. I think it was Nottingham, wasn't it? He came there. He's a strong travelling horse. He'll go well at a price. 2:30. Let's go complete contrast to the stayers. It's a mile 6 handicap. Really looking forward to this because one of my strongest plays of the week runs in it. Before we go there, a big day for friend of the show, our pal, David Manouzier, isn't it? I saw on Friday morning that David did his great social stream, shall we say. He's very active on social media, Twitter and the likes. He said, on Friday, I wish you all a wet and miserable day today. Tongue in cheek, because of course Wonderful Tonight comes out. We'll get to her, but he's also got Nuit St George.
He has got recent endurance and obviously a lot of good winning form. Is this your nap? Is this your banker?
No, it's not.
Right.
Did you think it would be?
I thought it would be the way you were setting that up. I mean,
yeah.
I think he's a worthy favourite. But
I really like the horse. He's progressive. I just think he probably is vulnerable to something that might have group race aspirations.
Right. Okay. Well, you're not tipping what I'm going to tip.
The horse that I'm with, and Pat will maybe know this, he ran in the Old Newton Cup and he was third. He came from last to very nearly first, and it was My Frankel. And this looks the absolute ideal race for him. I thought he would be Ebor bound. I know that's still 3 weeks away, and maybe he could win this and maybe still go there. But
I think that's perfectly plausible, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, that happens. I mean, horses go to Goodwood and then go on to the Ebor. I'm sure they do.
So valuable, isn't it? But I was a little bit surprised to see him turn up here. But if Ryan Moore can just get him rolling a little bit earlier. Now, he's a horse that can run keen. 2 runs back at York, he blew his brains out basically in what we call the Illarab race. That race where Illarab just looked absolutely different class. He hasn't gone on with it, however. I knew you could put a line through that, and then Richard Kingscote got on him through no fault of his own. He was definitely told to hold him up. He got right to the back of the pack at Haydock. You can't do that. And I think the ground will be better. Loads in his favour.
Yeah, I think there's loads in his favour. There were things about Frankel is obviously, he's just had 2 Derby winners, right? And he can get some brilliant horses. But he can get some complete nutcases as well. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? You got to remember, he was a bit of one himself in the early years. I mean, he was untractable, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And that's almost half the reason they did that, ridiculous Guineas win from the front. Just let him go. He's that good, just let him go. And he learned over time to settle. Now, My Frankel's another one who might blow it. I mean, I backed King Frankel earlier this week, and he just, he doesn't want to know.
Well, that's
you know what I mean? So there are. There are concerns about that. I liked Rhythmic Intent.
Oh, okay.
Now he's a 6-year-old with no...
Stuart Williams.
Stuart Williams, yeah. He's a 6-year-old with no group aspirations. But
he's got lots of solid handicap form, though.
He's got loads and loads of solid handicap form. I think he ran into a very well handicapped horse called Macram at Sandown on Eclipse Day. And I thought he ran really, really well. And I think he will go well again. And I would also put in a word for On to Victory, who's second to Hookham here. In May is obviously
looking better and
better. Who can run in second to Wonderful tonight, winning a Group 3 at York, in which Outbox, who was behind On to Victory, was second, and Outbox obviously won a listed race too. So it's a really, really solid piece of form. Trained by Alan King, who after the first 3 days at Goodwood was 2 from 2. If you remember last year at Royal Ascot, he was 3 from 3.
Exactly.
So
with On to Victory, yeah, that's right. So all right. So it's a deep race, Gills.
It's a deep race, yeah.
Pat Cooney, give us some help.
Yeah, I'm like you, Dave. I'm in the My Frankel camp, and initially I was thinking, he's a bit in and out, this horse. And I was looking at his form. The ins are very good; they make for good reading. The outs, well, on his debut he was 7th to Palace Pier. We can say that's okay. Then he was 10th of 10 at Ascot, beaten 38 lengths, but that's fine. He came back lame, so we can draw a line through that. Then the York run against Illarab, but everything went wrong. So he's only really got the one blemish on his record overall. And like you, I thought Richard Kingscote gave him a good ride from a long-term point of view last time in the Old Newton Cup. He got him settled, he got him switched off, and he came home powerfully enough. And I think if he's learned from that and improved from that, I think the step up in trip is going to be fine for him. He's unexposed, isn't he, at a mile 6? He's pretty decent at a mile and a half. He was a likely winner of the race, really. But the race has held up very well, though, hasn't it? Winner Clock was second, of course, in front of My Frankel last time. He's round about 10 to 1 in the equation. Louise St. George's favourite at the moment, stable in form, course and distance winner, always good currency to have. But I could just see people switching to My Frankel based on, we all tend to like Sir Michael Stout horses stepping up in trip, and that's what we got with this fella. So I'm going to be leaning with some of the noughts by his name and focus on the 1s and the 3s. And the 3 last time makes me go for him.
We're in good company, Pat, that we're agreeing then. So it's a supporting race at 2:30, but what a belter. Big call time. Do you mind if I get mine out of the way? We've had a little bit of a bad look at Galway, haven't we? I think we can say the hot topic. Not the best look. It's been a wonderful week, though. I love Galway. Since they switched to the jumps, see Willie Mullins, it's easy, isn't it? You look at the plate and Willie Mullins goes and wins just Royal Rendezvous, nearly top weight, 5 to 1 favourite, wins as he likes. And then they went to the hurdle, Saldier. Unbelievable. Patrick Mullins. That hurt everyone. Did you? Yeah. Of course, he ran really well. Why were not more British runners going over there? That's one bugbear that I've got. I won't go into that too much.
Yeah, I mean, they don't want to take an island in their own backyard, do they?
But we've had a horse that's finished second.
We talk about the handicap.
You saw what happened at the Punchdown Festival.
Also, the Irish handicapper cut Milkwood some slack because he actually ran off a £3 lower mark in Ireland than he has in Britain.
Do you remember the Punchestown Festival? We said, didn't we? It's turning on its head. It's finally happening.
Oh.
You know, the handicappers we sent over there fared really well. We had winners over there. Willie Mullins obviously completed a rare double. What a surprise that it was going to be him that did it. He had a 4-timer on Thursday night, and there was a horse called MC Muldoon that just missed out in the Ascot Stakes. He's finally learned to jump, and he's becoming the horse they thought he would. Actually got a great ride in the Ascot Stakes over 2 mile 4. Is that the winner of Cesarewitch? I think he probably is. It's another Willie Mullins one. Listen,
I don't think he's 100% straightforward.
But we know he stays. I think he'll get 3 miles over hurdle. MC Muldoon, he's back. He's going places. Keep with that project, Cesarewitch all the way for me. Kills, get something off your chest. Man.
Okay, don't want to be a miserable stick in the mud, but I can't have this racing league at all. I think it's all wrong. I mean, they got the dates wrong to start with. Why on earth have it? Why on earth have it clashing with Goodwood in the evening? I mean, you know, they could have run it 5 days later. They could have actually started on Tuesday and done every Tuesday. They wouldn't have had the clash with the Ebor meeting that they're going to have in a couple of weeks' time.
Oh, yeah.
But the other thing is, you know, so many trainers, so many horses are just not going to be eligible because they're not in the teams. They're not allowed to run. I mean, you can't have this sort of exclusivity in racing. I don't get it. Now the Racing League have said they wrote to every single trainer and didn't get that much of a response. But we had a James Milman who's been on RP Live for us. They said they wrote back and never got a response.
Yeah.
You have Grant Chua who says, well, I guess we did get it, but my office must have lost the letter. He said he didn't hear anything from the National Trainers Federation. And the point being, if this is such a success and everybody decides, oh yeah, I want a part of this next year, then Racing League are going to have to turn around and say no thanks to 90% of the trainers in Britain because they only want a certain number of people. So you are actually putting money into racing but saying not you, not you, not you, not you. And that's just wrong. And I don't care how competitive the racings are, how much people enjoy it, fundamentally it is unfair to the majority of trainers in racing. I just don't think it works. And yeah, I just think it's wrong.
To balance that, and let's give a little bit of a balance. Obviously, this is Sky's big, you know, along with Ascot, and the announcement of Newbury coming in a couple of years over as well. There's a bit of a proxy war going on at the moment, aren't there? So that's one thing that we're going to have to look at some point, I think. But it was a bit of a soft launch almost last night, wasn't it? But the prize money coming in.
None of the top jockeys turned up because they were all at Goodwood.
But a conception like the Shergar Cup, which we've got next week, not for everyone, but has been successful. Very successful internationally, all that sort of thing.
Anybody can enter a horse.
But if you, of course, but Kills. But if you probably went back to the first one, just to give a bit of balance to this, everyone looks back at their first attempt at something, don't they? They're going to make mistakes, I think, can't you? So I'm with you all the way, and that needs looking at, by the way. There's something not quite right about horses that should be able to enter that can't, and all that.
Well, that's the whole point. But
all stables aren't going to have a lot of Class 3 handicaps.
A team concept doesn't work, though, does it?
Yeah,
team concept quite simply doesn't work in racing. People aren't going to jump behind and say, right, I'm going to get on Team Arena, Team Talksport. You're not going to start wearing caps and shirts and whatever. It'll be meaningless to most people.
Yeah.
You know, people who want to bet on horses want to back a winner. They don't care what colours it is, who owns it, or whatever. They just want it to win when they've had a bet. You
do get the sense, listen, it was the first one, we've got more to come, but you do get the sense that next year they're going to have to put some more financial weight behind it. Don't need to really.
Well, it's not a financial weight. I mean, they've got to get it right. But I mean, you know, how can you open it up? How can you open it up to everybody and then still have teams? It's a concept which just doesn't work.
So, not for Kills then. Pat, have you got a word on that?
Yeah, I just like the idea from a company's point of view. You're giving us 6 handicaps with 12 runners, 50 grand in prize money. So from a turnover point of view, these are structurally sound races and so forth. But buried away on a Thursday evening didn't really do it for me. I still struggle to get my head around it. Did it do it for
punters though, Pat? Do you have any idea what the sort of turnover was like?
Well, we haven't got the figures through just yet, but the Galway races would have been a significant amount of turnover. There was the big race at 6:15, then that overlapped to the start at Newcastle at 6:25. But I'm pretty sure checking in with the office, Epsom was just as busy, also on the card as well. So it's a slow burner. I'm like you. If I was at Newcastle yesterday, I wouldn't be walking out with a Team Arena scarf around my neck. But then, you know, I can't get it. I thought it was good for them that Laura Pearson and Hayley Turner rode winners, so that opens it up to a different type of audience. I wish it well, but we're betting on it outright. Which team is going to win outright? We're quiet on it, and understandably so. But you do need the top jockeys there, that's for sure.
It takes a bit of time for these things to catch on, but as Kills has alluded to, not all's quite right at the minute. So something to look at there, the Racing League. Pat, give us a trio of big calls. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I'm just looking at trainers that are in form going under the radar, really, and none more so than Ismail Mohammed. Now, every one of us has a past. He's got a past as well. You can Google away on that one. But you look at his horses at the moment. He said he got a couple of handicappers win. Libra Shadow has been a well-backed favourite and won. He had a winner at Ascot last Saturday, Zane Claudette. That got up on the line and won a group race as well. So I think, this trainer's going places. Landed a bit of a gamble at Yarmouth during the week on a horse called Corin Zanada. And then on the Goodwood Cup day, we're all wondering about Trushan. He saddled the runner-up, Away He Goes, which looked like it was going to even win at 2 furlongs out. So there's a trainer at the top of his game at the moment with 2-year-old stayers under the radar. Some of these horses are going off at big prices. I think he's a guy to follow for the next couple of months.
Follow Ismail Mohammed, but don't follow Pat's advice. Don't Google what my past is or Kills. What are you on about, Pat? Come on, let's move on. So, if you'd like to sign up to our sponsors, Bet365, on Stewards Cup Day, you can do so with a referral code. Type in SHOUT365 on entering. Minimum £5 deposit for up to £100 bet credits. Terms and conditions apply. 3:05 is the LILLIE LANGTRY then. OK, the filly's time to get out over some distance. And we didn't see her in the King George. We didn't see her in the Clips as well. They've patiently waited since she stormed away with the Hardwick. Form we know, which is very strong. It is wonderful tonight. A big player in many people's eyes for the Arc. Pat Cooney, before we get Kills' form dissection, what price is she going to go off?
She is now 6-4 on. And, Dave, you look at these odds-on favourites, don't you? And from a bookmaking hat on, you think, find a reason to get them beat. Just find me a reason to get a beat. Well, it's not going to be the ground. It's not going to be ability. And I look at the race and I think, she's at, 8-9 to 1 for the Arc de Triomphe. Could any of her rivals in this race be considered as an Arc de Triomphe possible? Not at all. So it is all about her. The one thing I thought, it's a mile 6. We all know she's top class over a mile 4. We can get a beat because it's a mile and 6. So far, so good. But then you look at the form last year, she won over a mile and 6 in France. So we can't even get a beat for stamina. I just think she's a rock solid selection. If 4-6 doesn't float your boat, there's going to be betting without markets, each way angles and so forth. But I expect her to win. As I say, I cannot find a flaw in her makeup at all. And I think the 4-6 will be popular as well. I just think she wins.
Now, this is 3 weeks in a row he's done this. He picks one race, doesn't he? He does all his homework for it, and he basically gives a perfect preview for it. I can't add much to that.
Yeah, we don't need to bother, do we?
We don't need to bother. Wonderful Tonight just wins.
No, she wins. I mean, she's fantastic. That's probably the hottest piece of Royal Ascot form there is, isn't it?
Yeah, so is 4-6 looking some sort of value then?
Yeah, I don't think it'll last. I mean, what beats her?
Yeah, Albaflora has just got not.
Albaflora, Albaflora's not the most trustworthy either.
She's not. I think if Rafe Beckett, I'm getting Rafe Beckett's head, but if he had his time again, would he have gone to the Coronation and then gone to Ascot? It was all a bit quick, wasn't it?
Well, he might have done. I don't think she's entirely straightforward.
Yeah, but Even Love might be the one to chase her.
Might be.
I like her.
Yeah, I mean, I might have a look at the without market, but I mean, I'm struggling to take. There's no enthusiasm for taking on Wonderful Tonight. I hope she wins and. I hope she gets her conditions in France.
Yes, absolutely. So you might even want to have your fingers on the buzzers for the Arc de Triomphe market. Right, shall we have a look at one of the biggest sprint handicaps and the best sprint handicaps of the entire year, the 2021 Stewards Cup. Do we want to go high? Do we want to go low? Will it be down the middle? Let's get a market show first from Pat Cooney.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, isn't it? When we kick off the days at Goodwood with the consolation race, so you tend to think, well, that's going to have a significant bearing if all low numbers win that race, so you want to be on the low numbers at Goodwood. But there's 2 hours between the races, and so much can happen in the 2 hours, particularly if it's a sunny day. So they may be just separate entities. As for the Stewards Cup, Fresh is the favourite, a well-backed horse, anti-post, James Fanshawe, Kieran Schumacher, what a week he's having. He's on board. That's drawn in 16. That has been very, very popular. There's money around for other horses. Miras has been popular since the draw came out, and he's in 24 with Ryan Moore aboard. So he's one to consider as well. It's just a wild race. There'll be enhanced places. We're already 5 places as we speak with an option for more. I think Fresh is on course to be favourite. Winning is another thing. You can go right through the list of runners, rattling through horses that you like and so forth. My dart has landed on Bielsa of Kevin Ryan. Bit of a cliff horse this for me. I tend to give him the benefit of the doubt in every defeat he has. I just like the idea. I'm going to ignore last time, by the way. That was over 7 furlongs on fast ground. I think he wants 6 furlongs with a bit of cut in the ground. Sounds good for the Stewards Cup. Throw in Oisin Murphy aboard. I think that's a big, big plus for him. Drawn 11, Oisin can pick which way to go early on in the race. He'll do for me at around about 14-1. But no denying Fresh is the popular horse at the single-figure mark prices.
I'm smiling because I'm thinking to myself, I'm probably the only one that's going to put Bielsa up, I think. And it turns out that me and Pat have landed on the same horse again. For all the reasons Pat has said, of course. I think this is a race he's going to have a big say in, Kills. But I'm a big fan of Fresh as well. Now, he's in 16, isn't he? Kieran Schumacher, he's on a crest of a wave. I'm almost certain that he will make a beeline for the far side. And the reason being, because I can look at about 4 or 5 pacemakers that I can see on the far side.
I mean, here's the thing. All the really fancied horses are drawn in the middle, and the pace is on both wings, and there's none in the middle.
Yeah.
It's all going to be about track position. And
Are we going to see 2 groups then this time? If you had to put
as we said earlier, the last time there was soft ground at Glorious Goodwood, everybody went to the far side. It doesn't mean it'll happen again, especially with the pace scenario I go. I can see it being a split.
They have come up the middle in the past, haven't they?
They have come up the middle in the past. They've won from up the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't, there's nothing hard and fast about it, but the pace is both sides, and you've got some solid pace, and you've got Punch Bowl Fly, who certainly is not without a chance. Been a very consistent and in-form horse this season. Yeah. He's in stall 3.
Got a Stilio over there. You've got Major Jumbo's one you like.
Who I like as an outsider. I think is very interesting. I thought he was on the way back when he ran third to Edgelab at Newcastle under a claimer. Next time his claimer went way too fast.
He is a horse that just wants to get on with it, isn't he?
Yes, but you can let him get on with it, or you can go. Like, you know what I mean? He actually traded quite short in the one. He had them all off 3 furlongs out, 2 furlongs out. He had them all in trouble, but it was unsustainable. He's now got a mark of 94, which is pretty low. He was 108. He's been placed in Group race, placed in the Duke of York on fast ground. He's won on soft ground a big handicap at York. In 2018, off a higher mark, and who rode him that day?
Go on.
Josephine Gordon, who is on for the first time since.
Right.
Just an interesting booking. Yeah. So at least find somebody who knows the horse.
So we're putting up 2 Ryan horses here. Who's the other one?
2 Ryan horses.
Well, I've put up,
oh right, yeah. Sorry, yeah, I'm losing.
I've put up 2 horses so far. Sorry.
I think the 2 horses I've backed are Major Jumbo and Chief of Chiefs. Now I'm worried about Chief of Chiefs because he's going to be on. He's going to be in.
You back him every time he runs.
Well,
he's waiting for the big prize.
You get sucked into these horses that travel well and pass horses. But if you go back and watch the Wokingham, he actually ran past Fresh, and then his run petered out.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not he's good or not, I don't know. I'm slightly gone off him because of that middle draw, and he might end up on a wing when he's a horse.
Is he quick enough for Goodwood? That would be my.
I think he might be. But anyway, I've jumped off, and I've jumped on to Miras.
Did you put him up in this race last year, or was it the consolation?
No, he actually went off 11-2 for this race, off a £3 higher mark. I didn't put him up. I don't think I did anyway.
You put him up recently, though,
put him up recently at Hamilton.
My bad.
And he had a £5 claiming jockey on him that went absolutely suicidal. He was drawn on the outside, and earlier races the day before and that day had shown that you needed to be stand side on the sprint course. And jockey just thought, I want to be over there, and he went bang, and he just went miles too fast and dropped back. He actually lasted longer than I thought he would. And obviously Ryan Moore isn't going to make that mistake.
Moore gets on, yeah.
You know what I mean? He gets on the horse. The other pace in the race is possibly Edge to Lab on that side, because obviously he made a lot of running at Newcastle when he won. But I think, he will, he should be able to get the rail if that's where they deem it's likely to be the best ground, which is what it has looked like most of the time, or at least somewhere near that rail on the stand side.
If you're looking at the Stewards Cup, I know very few people that would just back one, so there you are. We've given you some help, but come on, get your questions in below. Let's have it. Who wins the Stewards Cup? Weekend winner time. It's going to be a trio for you, and I've kind of teased mine, haven't I, if you've been watching through the whole show, which I hope you have, not just skip into this bit. 2:30 at Goodwood. My Frankel. He'll get over the line here for Sir Michael Stout. Kills.
First race, Master Zoffany, really like him. Just wants a little bit of cut in the ground, which is what he's almost certainly going to get. He got a bit of a turn of foot. I think he's a 7 furlong specialist who's still better than his mark.
Yeah, Richard Fahey's horses are knocking on the door this week, aren't they? He could do with a turn of luck. That will be it, says Keels. Pat Cooney.
Yeah, Doncaster for me, the 3:30, number 5, Straight of Hormuz, trained by Jed O'Keefe. A horse that won at this meeting at the Doncaster last September. He won in good style on good ground, shaping up to be good ground there as well. He was highly tried after that, and I was wondering when he was going to come back to form. Well, he did last time. He was third in the John Smith's Cup. He was only beaten half a length in a 20-runner race. So, you know, he beat 17 other runners. That's a good line of form. Tor Hammer Hansen rode him that day, back on again tomorrow. I'm not thrilled about the fact that it's gone up £4 for finishing third, but he's a horse that is back in form. I think he's got potential, and I can see him winning the 3:30 at Donny on Saturday.
Well, no doubt that'll be value, whichever you play it, a straight treble or a Trixie. There are your weekend naps. Well, so we've got time for then on this in-house. What a shout. Really enjoyed it. We could go on and on and on, Kills, don't we? Because it's nice. We get to sort of, get things off our chest.
I mean, nowadays racing is, race has always been my number one sport, but I don't even bother watching most others these days. I mean, I love chatting about racing.
Good time to be on planet Earth.
I could go, I could go on and on and on about it. I love it. And I'm off to Goodwood tomorrow, so I'm loving it even more.
Okay, lock up the bars then. Good luck with that, Kills. We'll see you next week. Pat Cooney, thanks for joining us as ever.
Yeah, looking forward to a good day's racing. So it's going to be hard to find winners, apart from wonderful tonight, I suppose. But we could head down and do our best.
Head down and do our best, as we have done for you in this past 45 minutes to an hour. Let's hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. Get your comments in for the panellists. We love the feedback that comes from this show, absolutely. Don't forget to safe gambling this week. That's what it's all about. It's loads of racing at the moment. Take your time, find the right target. So from myself, Dave Orton, signing off in the capital. Lots of sport. Don't forget to download the free must-have Racing Post app. You can do it on the App Store or the Google Play Store itself. There's loads of sport out there. Enjoy it.